Welcome to National Pension Partners, where retirement planning meets peace of mind. Today, we're diving into the 412(e)(3 plan, also known as a fully insured pension plan. This isn't just any retirement plan. It's the gold standard for stability and guaranteed benefits. How does it work? Simple. It's funded exclusively by life insurance and annuity contracts. This means no market risks, no actuarial assumptions, just ironclad guarantees. Think of it like this. You're a small business owner who hates surprises. The 412(e)(3 plan gives you predictable, stable contributions every year. Your future benefits are backed by insurance contracts, so you know exactly what you're getting. No guesswork, no headaches. But there's more. These plans are designed to maximize your contributions and offer significant tax advantages. And with National Pension Partners, you're not just getting a plan, you're getting a team of experts, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, all dedicated to making your retirement as secure as possible. We provide personalized consulting, ensuring that your plan is tailored to your specific needs. Best part, initial consultations and proposals are absolutely free. $0, zero commitment. So if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. With the 412(e)(3 plan, your future is in safe hands. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. Perfect for small business owners who like their finances as predictable as Monday mornings. Stable contributions, ironclad guarantees, and serious tax advantages. It's the trifecta of financial security. And with National Pension Partners, you get a team of brainiacs, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, ensuring your retirement is as secure as Fort Knox. Oh, did we mention the free consultations? That's right. You get a personalized expert proposal with $0 down. So, if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. Because when it comes to your future, boring is the new exciting. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. For more details, check out National Pension Partners at nationalpensions.com. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling.
A lot is going on in the world. I'll get to some of these stories, and then I'll bring my esteemed panel in, and they'll talk about some of these things, including the Democratic Convention. But apparently, the body of Michael Lynch has been recovered from the super yacht wreck as Italian divers search for the final missing person. So that is something that is definitely going on in the news. And all along those lines, Israel tanks push deeper into Gaza as Biden is urging for peace, and that's definitely something going on as Israeli airstrikes hit Gaza and southern Lebanon amid a push for a ceasefire. And Zelensky has visited the northeastern border for the first time since Ukraine forces entered Russia's Kursk region. So definitely that's something that's going on as well. And Ukraine attacks Russia in one of the largest ever drone attacks on the Russian capital. So that's definitely something that people are paying attention to as well. And Biden speaks with Netanyahu as the U.S. prods Israel and Hamas to come to an agreement. So that's definitely something a lot of people are paying attention to, and also trying to see the diplomatic tightrope that the Indian Prime Minister is on as he visits Kyiv after he had already visited Moscow. And a Greek oil tanker is on fire and adrift after multiple attacks in the Red Sea. So that's definitely something going on as well. And Hezbollah rockets have hit Gulen after an Israeli strikes deep into Lebanon. So definitely, and Russia has accused the top CNN reporter of illegally crossing the border. So that's something else that folks will be talking about as well. And apparently a gay penguin, 7 dies, and definitely there's something going on as Magic mourns in song at the Sydney Aquarium. So definitely that's something that folks might be thinking about as well, because apparently that same-sex penguin pair captured the hearts, and after one died, the other sang. And there was an explosion and a fire at a pharmaceutical plant in India that killed at least 18 workers. And Indonesia lawmakers have shelved plans to change election laws as protests rage. And apparently, Andrew Tate has been detained again as the Romanian cop probes new human trafficking allegations. So definitely, there's a lot going on in the world, as is always the case. And Hurricane Wilma is on track as well. So that's a Category 3 storm that's out there in the oceans as well. Let me tell you what's going on in the U.S. Then I'll bring in Rick Rosner and some of the other folks and see what they've got to say. Gus Waltz cheers up watching his dad's speech, and I did learn that he is neurodivergent and all in that space. And apparently, he even shouted out, "That's my dad," at one point, and all along those lines. And definitely, that was something that was going on as well. And even Oprah Winfrey made an appearance at the DNC on yesterday. So definitely, a lot of people are going to be paying attention to what Kamala Harris does on this particular evening and all along those lines. There were protests outside. I think there was like 55 arrests, as there was folks that were definitely pro-Palestinian that were outside in Chicago. So that's something that folks will be talking about as well. And an alleged ringleader is among 7 arrested in the death of 53 migrants smuggled in to Texas. So that's something else that folks will be paying attention to as well. And apparently RFK is expected to drop out of the race by the end of the week. And apparently there are sources that are saying that he plans to endorse Trump. So we'll see how this all plays out. And Trump's tons critics was praised for the nice gentleman Obama, while his predecessor slammed him at the DNC. So definitely there's some tit and tat going on in terms of the political landscape. But I'm going to bring in folks as they have different things to say, maybe even thoughts around the stolen valor conversations that have been going on as well. But definitely going to bring in my esteemed fellow panelists and see what they've got to say about a number of these things as well. So I've got Rick Rosner with me, and I've also got Sasha Starr, and also got Nick Palmito around here somewhere as well. So how's everybody doing? And how is did you watch the
convention? Background, that looks like Venice, Italy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that's Nick doing something. Maybe it's for his trip to Spain.
Yeah. All right, so there are rumors that RFK Jr. is going to drop out of the quit his campaign today and urge his voters to vote for Trump. So we haven't heard anything yet. I'm checking around to see if that's actually happening.
It doesn't look like those rumors are true.
Has he announced yet?
No, but it seems to be it seems to be
by the end of the week
on Friday. Yeah. So the thing is, you'll probably see him endorse the Donald. You know, so, they seem to fit.
Well, he reached out. I've heard that he reached out to both campaigns saying he would endorse. He reached out to the Harris campaign saying he'd endorse her if she promised him a cabinet position. And I assume it's the same thing with Trump, that it's some kind of, tit for tat thing.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's typical politics. He wants to buy his way in to higher office. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised. RFK is a snake, so he belongs with whichever snake wants him. But he does carry 7% of the vote, it shows.
If you look at 538, he's polling at about 5%.
Oh, 5%. Well, here's the problem with 5%. That could be the difference.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, like the bookie that I look at to see their odds, they've pulled their who's going to win bet entirely off for the last 2-3 days. I think there's too much going on, too much uncertainty for them to set a betting line.
No, really? Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But, things can bounce between now and Election Day. In other words, there's still a lot of runway.
Nick, just really quickly, what did y'all think of Oprah? Oprah made a big appearance. So there was even speculation way back when of her running for office, just like Michelle Obama, but she didn't make a splash, even though she said she's an independent.
I thought she
to be independent and others. So what did you think of her appearance?
I thought she looked great and talked great. She's 70 years old or 69. And freaking, does not look it, and a lot of energy, her standard Oprah energy. She was good.
Yeah. Plus, the thing is, with the new weight loss drugs, I think that helped her also as well. You know, I think that new Wegovy or whatever the heck is out there.
Ozempic. Yeah, I think, I mean, because I don't know, younger viewers may not remember, but Oprah, we would follow the saga of her changes in weight, and she was always
she was battling with weight problems for all her life. But this new drug that's come out seems to be doing a good job in keeping people's weight down. In other words, off.
She bought the entire Weight Watchers company, like 10 years ago, and then or longer, and then recently withdrew from Weight Watchers because she said it would be dishonest, I think, given that, you know, Ozempic can do for by her, you know, what maybe Weight Watchers can't do for people who don't have access to Ozempic.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that's the real problem is Ozempic is kind of a game changer in the weight loss area, and I can tell you, just, you know, things like that can make a big difference. So I haven't watched any of the, but I didn't watch the Republicans either. But I haven't watched any of the Democratic thing because, frankly, it's on too late. They're pandering to people like you, Rick, in California. And they're not pandering to old folks like us in the East Coast. So
I'm pretty old, but like my wife is totally into it. I'm like, okay, enough speeches. Yeah, let's like she's gotten all woke, which is not, I don't think, a bad thing. But I'm like, come on, okay, enough speeches for tonight. Let's watch like TV that has a plot. You know,
Rick, along those same lines, there was a moment that a lot of people have been talking about. I'd love to hear maybe Vinci Toby's thoughts about it, but I did not realize that one of the candidates has a neurodivergent son. So there was a lot of people that were paying attention to his reaction to his dad's speech, because it is definitely Vice President candidate Waltz's son that is neurodivergent, and definitely a lot of people were paying attention to that and his reaction. But just your thoughts as one that is dealt in that space, Toby.
I thought it was beautiful. I mean, it was true emotion coming from his son, seeing his father on stage, and you could see it was truly affecting him, and it was really a sweet moment. The sad part is that because of the way our country is, and the divisions and the Trump and him mocking those with special needs, people in the MAGA community throughout on different social media have actually mocked that moment, which is thoroughly upsetting because it was such a touching, beautiful moment. And it wasn't the fact that, it brought me a little bit to tears watching his son having that emotion, but it was just a feeling. Having a child with special needs it's something different, and it's hard to describe, but I think that moment really, for those with a lot of empathy and those who have special needs children, I think that was a moment that really, really hit home, because you could see in his son's eyes, and you could feel his son's passion for his father and his love. And that, again, in politics and the way our world is right now, that is something that we've been lacking and we've been missing and we've been yearning for. So it was a truly beautiful moment. And I wish people would just understand. I mean, just throw the politics and if you hate his policies and so on and so forth out the way. That's what we're supposed to be. That's where we're supposed to be as a country. The empathy for each other, the understanding and the emotion for each other, being there for somebody who is in need, who may have special. It's just, it was beautiful to watch.
It was the best moment of the night. It was the night's best moment. And a good sign is that the relatively few hyper MAGA a-holes who made fun of the kid. And when they made fun of the kid on Twitter, they got dogpiled by people calling them a-holes. So, I mean, for most people, for every a-hole who made fun of the kid, there were 15 or 20 people on social media saying that they love the moment. And not just Waltz's kids last night, but Emhoff's kids the night before. Emhoff's daughter and Harris's stepdaughter is a Brooklyn hipster, and she's got tattoos, and she's there embracing her dad and Harris. And I, as a parent, I loved it, and I think parents love it to see kids who unapologetically embrace and cheer for their parents, even if they are hipsters.
Hey, the flip side of that, though, and I'd love to hear Jacoby's thoughts about this, was Hakeem Jeffries did kind of go out on a limb and make this whole analogy about the boyfriend that you can't get rid of, and all along those lines. So I just wanted your take on that, because it was a direct takedown of Trump, and there was a couple of other takedowns as well. But I just wanted your impressions of that part of the debate, because he basically made this analogy about how it's like that boyfriend that you can't get rid of, and that wants to always come.
I don't think that the Dems have been mean enough to Trump, but that's not their brand. This convention, it's a very positive, uplifting. I mean, her word that they've chosen for, where Obama's word was hope, they're using joy for Harris. And I guess you can't be a total dick about Trump, even though he's a total dick, and still embrace joy.
Jacoby or Sasha, any thoughts about that, or even the protest? Because I know there was a lot of
full blown. Hey, it's going to be either joy or hate. It's going to be, the convict or the prosecutor, the law or the disorder, or who was it last night that said, I think it was it Clinton? No, it was either Clinton or somebody said it last night, where they wanted, no, it was Oprah, I think she said, where did you want, now I forgot what she had said with the two words that she had, the disorder or order or whatever she had put it, but they're really creating that contrast. And I think the fact that they're going on this joyful warrior thing is starting to attract those that really are. And I think the nation as a whole is just tired of the hatred, tired of, hey, we got to yell at each other all the time, tired of, if you don't agree with me, you're Hitler, or if you don't agree with me, you're trying to kill me, or you're the enemy. And I think people are growing weary and tired of hearing that same routine. And this whole joyful, let's have a party. The split screen they did with the roll call is freaking hilarious, because it's just a distinct difference between fun or, hey, if you don't vote for me, you're going to die.
I think what they should do is, Mark, is they should have a new mantra for the Democratic Party. It should be called broke and woke, and emphasize broke, because that's what they are. It's all, let's spend the money, let's party, let's not be responsible, AKA the Democratic Party. I would like to say the Republican Party is better, but they're not. But the Democratic Party has nothing to be proud of. When you look at what they did to the debt, when they look at what they're not doing with Social Security, look at what they're not doing with Medicare, you're looking at what they spent, 1.7 trillion more than they took in. There's nothing to party. There's nothing to be proud of. They're leaving our grandkids with piles and piles of debt. Why? They're out partying in Chicago. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And Sasha, you have a comment.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I wanted to mention that at the point of great entertainment that was provided, including Stevie Wonder, of course, which is, you don't see him that often in the live performances. So that alone was worth watching all the evening of the speeches. And the speeches were quite good. I was quite impressed that Oprah Winfrey, in fact, is independent. And she actually asked all independents and undecideds and so on to vote for Kamala Harris and for Democratic Party. Now, Nick, about being broke, I just heard just half an hour ago before the program, the Democrats actually stashed away, believe it or not, $500 million ready for advertising budget, at least $300 million from September 2 until the election day. So this is something what Republicans can only dream of. And I'm surprised because they have backers like Elon Musk, for example. Elon Musk is now spending millions of dollars to provide ammunition and weapons for Russian elite army troops. So he has money for Trump's friend Putin, but he doesn't have money for Trump himself. He was provided supposedly 45 million a month. All of a sudden, he said, no, you misunderstood me. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, of course, because at that time he didn't provide money for Putin's army, but now he does. So maybe he's overstretched. Maybe he needs more money to accomplish everything, what there is to it. So I wouldn't call Democratic Party broke. What I see, though, I must tell you, I see the great tragedy of Republican Party. Republicans, of course, could easily win this election because Joe Biden, he had no chances to win this election. So once that was obvious several months ago, even before the debates, the Republicans have to take this election seriously. They had to. They had to appoint a viable leader, and it is not going to be convicted criminal, felon, a conman. It's not just conman that he did something wrong. He stole a piece of bread in the supermarket. He is a live conman. He went through the life as being a conman in all situations. So they could understand that even although they have viable ideas and viable platform, but because it's carried by conman, the best program is doomed. You cannot execute even the best possible program if it's executed by a conman. So they had to dump him under the bus, just like that, out. And then they would have viable choice. Okay? Of course, there is, I don't believe that they have such a bench as Democrats proved in the last 3 nights. They proved they have incredible bench. I didn't expect that, but they do. But you see, once Trump is out, there could be influx of new names in Republican Party, and they could actually create a viable candidate, viable platform, articulate it, and they would have, at that point, I don't think that Democrats would replace Biden. So Biden probably would be still a nominee, and whoever Nikki Haley or anybody else would be a front bearer of the Republican Party, they had a fighting chance, and probably even more than that, to win the election. Unfortunately, they made several errors, including against beating that Trump card and getting J.D. Vance, which does not contribute anything to him. And now the Democrats switch all of a sudden Biden for Harris and stage this convention. And now situation is very unclear. I'm actually disappointed the way Republicans carried this campaign. That's all I can say.
Hey, Steve, just really quickly, Steve, what is your thoughts and Shaquille? I know that Leonardo Williams was supposed to speak, but he got bumped just like James Taylor, another North Carolina native did and everything. But I think Governor Cooper is supposed to speak this evening before Kamala and everything. So what has been your take on the convention so far? Did Steve disappear on me?
Frozen. I'll mention something while he's frozen. The U.S. had to revise its unemployment statistics upward by 818,000, which is bad news for the unemployment rate, but good news for the Fed. It makes a bigger case for the Fed cutting in September. And a September Fed cut will goose the stock market and make houses a little more affordable. So overall, probably good news. Though Shaq, what do you think? You know stuff.
Well, there was a question to Steve. I'll let Steve go, and then I'll come in and respond.
Yeah, Mark, I had a quick favor. I've been so busy getting live calls from the convention. I'm trying to get Governor Newsom on, but he might come on later this afternoon on PTF. Would you mind if there's a guy named Drew Marsh? He's a delegate. Could we bring him on if I shot him a StreamYard link?
I sent the email, and just in case he didn't go through.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yep.
Mark, are you there?
Sorry,
No,
I'm
Mark
here.
is not there. He disappeared.
I'm here now. But yes, I can do that if you send him. If
Okay.
you want to send him
All right.
the link.
So I'm gonna call. I'm gonna take off for a second and call him and see if he can just come on this rather than me calling him. And we could just give him 10 minutes to talk about his experience, the energy. He's been there every day. His name is Drew Marsh. So I'll call him right now, and then I'll email you his email. Okay.
I'm familiar with Drew, so
Actually, I'll do it right now. Send him a Streamyard link. It's done. Okay. So let me really tell you real quickly before I take off and try to get this guest on. I think that so far it's been a good convention. I think some of I liked Bill Clinton's speech. I thought Oprah was strong. Tim Walz had a good night. The thing, though, that I think is lacking is specifics. I'm not seeing a lot of policy discussions. There hasn't really been an addressing the border. They're obviously avoiding that. I think there'll be a bump after the convention, but I think it's far from over. I think there's a lot of Democrats out there getting a false sense of security. I'm seeing that already on North Carolina. People are already asking for jobs in the administration and things like that, and she hasn't even accepted the nomination yet. So I feel like that's just my take. I kind of feel overconfidence now from the Democrats, kind of like what we saw in 2016. So I feel like it's far from over, and I think the Republicans are going to be mean and nasty, but I think sometimes mean and nasty works, and there's a lot of undecided out there. So sorry to be a pessimistic Democrat, but I still think it's going to be a tough race for Harris to win.
Hey, Steve, you say that and everything, but I've heard issues discussed like the housing issue and this whole notion of some housing credits. I've heard things that talked about some other kind of proposals out there. I've even heard some of the border peoples that were involved with border issues that have spoken about things that she did in the past and that she might be doing in the future. So I have heard some policies mentioned. So I don't know that I have not heard non-policies talked about, even though both of you say that they're not. But I have heard some things talked about.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's. I think there will be a bump after this convention. I'm just saying that it's going to really be down to the unaffiliated and independents as well. So Lee Rhodes just asked a question. I don't think this convention will change more than the people that already were supporting. So now the work has to be done of the specifics of the policies and the plans. But I think Oprah Winfrey was strong. I think Bill Clinton was strong. I want to get back to Shaquille, what he thinks. He can bring
Just really quickly before we get
Look, I think that there was it's been an okay convention. I don't think it's been the standout convention that everyone's trying to make it out to be. Bill Clinton, it was great to see him give a speech. I haven't seen him give a speech for ages. He did look and sound a little bit old. I mean, he's older now. He's not the sort of charming, charismatic president that he was 20 years ago. But look, I just find it fascinating to hear Democrats talk about how great their convention was. and how terrible the RNC was. Like, what's the difference? Like, both political parties just went through the motions and had, their big conventions. Like, but the Democrats, to listen to Democrats talk, the RNC was terrible, and Trump's speech went on for too long, and this and that was all these bad things. And to listen to Rick earlier, maybe we're not being mean enough to Donald Trump. To which Jatovia responds that people are tired of it and they need more joy, and then Democrats are going to give you all the joy and happiness for the future, but Republicans aren't. That it's the Republicans that are being mean. It's just silly. And anybody from the outside who looks in, who has some semblance of impartiality, can see it for what it is. And it's the unfortunate thing about Americans, about Australians in Australia, about British in the UK, is that you back your own side, and I think your own personal biases tends to cloud your judgment. And I've got to really thank Nick for moving to Spain, reminding me of why I left Australia in the first place, because I was so tired of the partisanship. I was so tired of people who would just vote along party lines in this country, who would vote for ridiculous things to make my life more difficult, and me sit there and go, I'm not going to do battle with these guys anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else. And that's exactly what I did. And that was how I became successful. So, all I can say is somebody who really doesn't have any skin in the game, it doesn't really affect me who wins your next election. But to hear Democrats and the liberal media prop Democrats up to the degree that they do, and then have people on our network try to make out that they're giving, fair, impartial analysis, while they can't think of anything bad that happened at the DNC. They don't call out, the terrible, unhinged speech that Biden gave. The fact that Harris didn't even hang around for the Obama speeches because the rumor is there's some big rift between the Bidens and the Obamas. I mean, there's some dramas there in the Democrats, and Democrats won't call it out. But any minuscule thing that Donald Trump does, he's horrible and he calls people bad names. I think it's silly, and I think that this is the kind of thing that's going to cost the Democrats. Whether it results in a Democratic loss at the next election is a different question. But this is the sort of stuff that I think costs Democrats and causes partisan. And it's the same thing in reverse when Republicans do it in strong Republican areas. So,
but Shaquille, just really quick,
Mark, can you send Mr. Mark?
I already sent him the link. I just sent him the link. I already sent him.
All right, we're just gonna wait and see. Okay. Anyway, that's great feedback, and I think that there needs to be So here's what I think, and I'm just going to be I think Democrats are more effective. What I was trying to say is if they can stick to policy and stick to how they're going to bring civility back to America, which I think is good, being inclusive about independence and even moderates that are tired of the rhetoric. And but I think just going negative against Trump. So I'll give you an example, like J.B. Pritzker's speech, I think was just a bunch of insults towards Trump, which I think doesn't do anything to bring value to that undecided voter. But I think Oprah Winfrey did a good job kind of talking about independence and the kinds of things like that, the way she did it. I like Bill Clinton. I thought he did a good job. Wes Moore did a good job. We're going to hear from Governor Cooper tonight. But I think just the going after Trump, saying he's mean and terrible and awful, I just don't think it's going to work.
Well, Steve, I think though that Democrats have got themselves in a bit of a problem. Jatovia, you've had all week. I think that Democrats have got themselves in a little bit of a problem here, because Kamala Harris has been the vice president for 3.5. Well, you didn't even let Dan get a word in yesterday. Because Kamala Harris has been the VP for 3.5 years, right? She's been a senator for 4 years before that. I don't think she passed any legislation passed or anything like that when she was in the Senate. One of the issues that they're going to have is if they're going to talk about policy and then talk about what they're going to do differently, which is sort of what Michelle Obama had kind of said. I don't know if she intended to say it that way, but it's going to be something new and different. Well, new and different to what? And as has been pointed out recently, Dems have had 12 of the last 16 years in the White House. So what exactly is changing? If you've just had 4 years, almost 4 years, and you're going to do something different, does that mean that what you've just done has been a failure? So I do think that they need to get out from under that. And also I think it's totally ridiculous that Kamala Harris has yet to have a press conference, or a sit-down interview with any of the media. There's now rumors that she's going to cancel the Fox debate.
But to kill along those same lines and everything, I did see your hand, Jacoby. But along those same lines, one of the things that has been going on, because even Bill Clinton brought up this notion of job creation, and he brought up, and I've even heard people that have said that it is a true statement that 50 million jobs were created under Democrats, where it was 1 million under Republicans. And I hear what you're saying about the tone of the conversation, because some of that. Hold a second. Some of that tone is also happening.
You know that jobs were lost during COVID. Just let's get the real numbers, right? Admit that yes, there were some jobs that were lost during COVID, and then there were some jobs that were brought back, and then there were some extra jobs that came in above that. Don't just sit there and make it up as you go.
I'm just saying what was quoted by one of our former presidents. I'm just saying that's the quote that he brought in, and I'm not making it up. That's
I was referring to him. I was referring to him, and I said, "Don't make it up when you go." I was going to be off camera.
Jacoby, wait.
Just to push back on just a couple of things. So, talking about the RNC convention, everything that came out of the RNC convention, everybody talked about how well it was put together. The only actual, I guess, complaint about the RNC convention that people had was that Donald Trump went off teleprompter, and when he went off teleprompter, that's when he lost. And had he stayed on message, the RNC convention, everybody, Democrat to Republican to Independent, said the RNC convention went well. So to say that people complained about it is untrue. In terms of the Democrat convention, it is okay to compliment something that's done well. And they've been doing a great job with it. It has been a very fun convention to watch. From the music, the roll call, when talking about put the split screen up between the two roll calls that happened. It was fun. It's okay to have that fun. And I don't know why we've gotten to a point where it's not cool to be fun anymore or have fun and stuff like that. But that happened. And to push back on the debt in terms of what Nick had spoke about. Nick, we've already established and pointed to the fact that Donald Trump spent 25% of the national debt when he was in office. He's actually spent more of the debt than actually Joe Biden. So he added more to the debt than anybody. But the thing is, we go on this notion, and we do it every presidential election, not just this one. We talk about were you better off 4 years ago, but we have these ideas in our minds that we begin to get nostalgic about those times, but forget about all the bad and all those 4 years. 4 years ago was 2020. The country right now is shut down. Donald Trump was the only president to lose more jobs than he took in. And yes, COVID had an issue with that, but we're not talking about that. COVID had a factor in inflation. COVID had a factor in skyrocketing global inflation, but we tend to forget about these things and give Donald Trump multiple passes on whatever he does. And I don't know why we do that when we're talking about policy. It's a pep rally. That's what happened at the RNC convention. Nobody was talking about policy because they gave no policy at the RNC convention. But we're begging for policy out of the DNC convention for some reason. It's a pep rally to get your people excited, motivated, wanting to get out there and get active for their candidate. That is what a convention is. That's all it is. So it's the same thing if you take an analogy because you had Coach Tim Walz on stage. If you go to a pep rally, you're not asking the coach for what he's going to run third down in the third quarter when you're losing by 7. You're not asking the coach for his, you're at a pep rally. That's what each convention is about. And so and again, it is okay. I don't know why we've lost this now. It is okay to say the RNC convention was well. It's okay to say the DNC convention as well. I don't know why we're in this position. Stop, Shaq. I didn't interrupt you.
Didn't you?
Shaq, I didn't interrupt you. Please, let's not do this. This is why we're having a problem. This is why we're having a problem is because, again, people aren't excited about us talking over each other. People are excited about having a conversation again. So we can have that, and it's fine. So, again,
Hey, just
All I'm stating is that it is okay to have fun and compliment things.
Just really quickly, one of the things I did hear, hold on a second, Jack. One of the complaints I did hear, not about the network, but just in general, is that I have heard some Republicans and some Democrats, even myself, have said that the activities have gone on long. So definitely they have been, because that's even one of the complaints that one of the Republicans had, is that it was a long activity. So I was wondering, is that a fair complaint? Because definitely I know that was midnight last night.
Completely fair complaint. Completely fair. Oh, since Sasha's here, and I'm sorry, Rick. Also, Rick, this could be for you too, because I wanted to hear your opinion on that, because there was one moment that we've glossed over because we got lost in a few of the other moments last night. But one moment I thought was beautiful when they brought the parents of the one of the hostages, and they had 320 on their shirts, and they were talking about the amount of days that he's been captive, and their whole speech I thought was extremely moving, and it was amazing to watch, and I hope that motivates a lot of people.
I didn't see that moment. I was trying to get Carol to watch something other than but there was another great moment where Waltz's football team, they brought in all these guys who played football for him. That looked cool. But go by the ratings to see which. So the DNC night 1 beat the RNC by 21%. Night 2 beat them by 39%. We'll see what we've got. One more night. We'll see how. And all right.
That's not political media.
You know who I thought would have been the best to introduce. And we're waiting for a guest. I don't know whether he's waiting on the other Zoom. But I'm hoping he gets the message. It would have been funny if Al Pacino had introduced Tim Walz, because of the football analogy, Any Given Sunday. I don't know if you all remember the speech about it's a game of inches. It's the inches staring you. Can you imagine if it's the inches staring you in front of the face?
Well, Steve, to touch on that, at the end of Walz's speech, it sounded just like that. Each inch.
They should have had
Shaq, you mentioned
how bad are you willing to fight for that inch? Yeah. How willing are you?
I'm now glad I didn't watch 1 minute of that.
All right, we Democrats, we claw our fingernails.
So I don't think that Alger gets that.
I'm glad I'm not watching.
Just to come back to what I was saying before. So Rick, okay, so their ratings were higher. Yeah, I wonder why. I mean, at the moment, the media in the United States has lost all credibility, I believe, around the world, and it's losing credibility in America, because the major media, with the exception of Fox, is essentially just another branch of the Democrats Party, and they should just say that. Now, the DNC is going to be full of Democrat propaganda. The RNC is going to be full of Republican propaganda. That's absolutely fine. But, it's silly. And to try and tell me, oh, look, the DNC was so much fun to watch. Or the RNC was so much fun to watch. Are you serious? This is what you guys do for fun? It was ridiculous. And what, we're supposed to be inspired by Obama saying, well, Trump's like the neighbor who blows the leaf blower out the front of your window 24/7. I mean, come on. But we're all full of joy. No, you're not. And then you criticize Trump for going off the teleprompter and speaking from the heart. And then Kamala Harris goes around and delivers exactly the same speech in every state that she goes to, reading from the teleprompter as if, you might as well just not be there. You might as well just, send everybody a letter. What's the point of coming out and reading the same speech over and over and over again?
Well, the point is that it's the stump speech. It's the speech you make every place, because if you're making a new speech every time, that's a minefield.
But Rick, this is at the heart of the problem. This is why Donald Trump, to my great surprise at the time, won in 2016. It's this sort of behavior. It's the idea that politicians are just politicians, that they're so far out of touch with the people that everything that they say is very, very polished and researched, and they make sure that it's all going to be safe, rather than having politicians talk to you from the heart and talk to you about the things that really matter to them. This is what people don't want. And again, this is not an American issue. We are seeing this trend around the world. People are frustrated with it. Now, look, I get it. People like Sasha are never going to like Trump. Okay, that's fine. But this isn't about Trump. This is about what's best for the country, what's the policies, and how people are going to vote. Now, with RFK now throwing support behind, it sounds like he's going to throw his support behind Trump and endorse Trump. Is that going to be a boost, or is that not going to be a boost? I don't know, because I think that some of RFK's voters were people that really would have liked to have voted for Trump, but they just can't do it. They just can't vote for him, and so they would have voted for RFK, even if that was throwing the vote away. So maybe that will hurt Trump. I don't know. Under Joe Biden, RFK had something like 9 or 10% of the vote. I think now it's down to 4 or 5%, but that could be enough to swing, especially those razor-thin margins that we're expecting in the Rust Belt and other places. So, as I said, I think, even in California, you've actually seen a bigger upsurge in Republican registrations. Now, I'm not suggesting that California is going to turn red. I'm not suggesting that's going to happen for decades, and I'm not going to suggest that Texas is going to turn blue for decades. But it's interesting to see that that's happening, and I think that's going to have an effect. And if Democrats are going to delude themselves by just going, "Oh, it was amazing, it was fun. Oh, the roll call was on split screens. This stuff matters." No, it really doesn't, and it's not going to affect the election outcomes.
Shaquille, what's your thoughts around? And one of the things I did not see in the RNC, there was a little bit of it, but I saw more of it in the DNC, is this notion of some of the anti-Trump Republicans, including some that were on his own staff, that spoke at the convention, and some of them are appealing to the Republicans to vote as well as the independents. Is that going to be effective in your mind and everything? Because there has been a number of them every day of the week.
From what I'm seeing, and from the people that I speak to around the states at the moment, I don't think it's very effective, because I think that Republicans and Trump supporters are pretty firmly in their spot. I think that when you've got the union guys that supported Trump at the RNC, I think that would have had an effect. But I don't think that had an effect in of itself. I think it was indicative that there is a move against the Democrats, certainly a move against Joe Biden. I don't think the Democrats are in as strong a position as what the polls would indicate. And I say that because, one, we know that she's still in that honeymoon phase, but secondly, because I think there is still a lot of internal turmoil at the highest ends of, or the highest levels of the Democrats. And certainly we know that there is some level of conflict between the Obamas, the Bidens, Nancy Pelosi, etc. And all of these rumors are swirling. And I think that is going to have an effect, which is going to be negative in this election cycle.
Shaq, you mentioned, quickly, party fatigue, that voters don't like having the same party hold the presidency for too long. You can do it twice, but the only time we've had it 3 times since Truman was Reagan into the first Bush. But we've only had one Democratic administration so far, and switching out Biden for Harris makes it seem fresh. So I don't think you get voter fatigue that way.
Also, just to point out, Nikki Haley, RFK is not a threat to the Democrat Party, because RFK grabbed people that didn't want to vote for Biden mainly. Kamala Harris has already taken RFK's Democrat vote away because of that. So Nikki Haley said it a long time ago while she was running against Donald Trump, but nobody listened, and it is coming true. Nikki Haley pointed out that whichever party, because both parties are truthfully tired of their octogenarian candidates, whichever party got rid of their octogenarian candidate first has a better shot. And that is what's happening right now, because nobody wanted Trump Biden again, because nobody wanted Trump, nobody wanted Biden. And now you have something fresh, just as Rick just stated. And again, with all you're not getting detailed policy at any convention, regardless, whatever it is. We're holding the Democrat Party at a different level than we're holding the Republican Party. So when we say, well, the media's caretaking too, okay, well, when Obama made the comment about Donald Trump, or when we're going in on each Democrat making a comment, Donald Trump has said some racist things that got brushed under the rug, and we kind of walk over them. We've stated on this network and on many networks what Donald Trump says is baked in the cake. He says some crazy stuff. Even the other day, he said some crazy stuff. And this is why his own advisors have begged him. The GOP have begged him to do exactly what Kamala Harris is doing and stay on prompter or stay on message or stay basically off this idea that you're speaking from the heart. Because when Donald Trump, quote unquote, speaks from the heart, he's lying. He's saying some very negative things. He's saying some very atrocious things. But again, that's what is pushing those independents away. The independents wanted something new and something fresh. And yes, they want to hear policy. And I'm sure policy is going to happen, and that should pop up at the debate if they stay on topic. But right now, Donald Trump is unable to stay on topic. And that, again, he even pointed that out at his rally in North Carolina, where he even stated, my campaign staffers want me to stay on message. But do you guys want me to go off message? And so these are things that he knows he's supposed to do, but he cannot do because that's who Donald Trump is. So that is a problem. And that is something that, again, the GOP repeatedly has said for him to do it.
You call it a problem. His supporters like it. To your point, Rick, I'm not sure that I agree that Harris is fresh. I agree with you that it's hard. And again, around the world, it's very difficult for a political party to maintain power forever. And I don't think it's healthy, actually, for countries to have one party in charge for too long. The Tories in the UK just suffered one of the worst defeats that they've ever had. The centre-right political party in Australia lost the election after having 3 or 4 terms. 3 terms, I think it was. I think the Trudeau's probably going to lose in Canada at the next election. I don't actually think he's even going to make it to the next election. Certainly not a failed prime ministership, because that would have been his 2nd or 3rd term. Sasha, you'll have to correct me. So yeah, we see that sort of stuff happen. I just want to address that she's fresh. Look, the Bernie Bros and his supporters in 2016, I think, had every right to feel somewhat aggrieved, and certainly some of their votes, I think it was Washington and a couple of other places, were overridden by delegates and superdelegates. So that was certainly something that I think they had every right to feel aggrieved that the nomination should have gone to Bernie Sanders. It didn't. Now, coming into this election cycle, it's going to come up that you had Democrats that wanted to throw their hat in the ring against the incumbent Joe Biden because they were saying he's too old and he's unlikely to make it. Democrats refused to acknowledge that, including people on this show, not Steve Rao, including other people on this show that refused to ever hear any kind of criticism of Joe Biden because he was old. People that said, oh, no, it's just cheap fakes and all this sort of stuff, when it clearly wasn't. We could all see it around the world. Then you have a debate which is appalling. It clearly shows in the polls that you're going to be experiencing a devastating loss at the next election. So then he gets pushed out of the party, and Kamala Harris is just, crowned as the nominee. I don't think that that's going to install great inspiration in people. I think people are going to be a little bit annoyed by that, actually. And you've got former Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard, like RFK, and others that are joining Trump's side right now. Steve?
Let me tell you, let me real quickly for Toby, and I guess we're just going to have our guest next week or maybe tomorrow if he's back. I don't think he got the link. But here's a rumor that I've been hearing out there from others, that the Biden-Harris strategy for the White House began many, many years ago, even when Beau Biden was alive, because Beau Biden was his most trusted advisor and best friend, his son. He was the attorney general. He was very close to Kamala Harris when they were attorney generals. And he actually told his father, even before he was dying, that I really think you should make her the vice president if you do win. And everything during the campaign was an act. It was an act that they acted like he hated each other. She ran on purpose, knowing she wouldn't get it. Then he picked her as the VP. But what now I'm hearing is that the entire thing was planned, and that they knew he wasn't going to run again. And they knew that she could only win a short campaign. So it sounds a little crazy, but he knew it. He debated. He knew he was going to get his butt kicked. And then
I don't
there
think
we
so. I
go.
don't
And
think-
then the whole thing was planned. The whole
Dave,
thing was
I don't think that they would plan it out as well as that. But also, I'll just say this, and this is my opinion, and I know that Mark and Jacoby are not going to agree with me on this, but I'll just say this. I actually think you take something away from people of colour and from women if she gets a presidency in this kind of a way. At least she wins an election to get it. She doesn't just take over because the 25th Amendment was called out. But this is not the way to do it. I mean, this is what happened with the first female Prime Minister of Australia. She became the Prime Minister because they got rid of the sitting Prime Minister, and she just took over without winning an election. And it just takes away from the achievement. So I think that these sort of political games are exactly the sort of things that people have been complaining about. We know that people have been complaining about it since at least 2015, okay? And now it's getting worse. Now there's more political games, and on both sides of the aisle. Look, we saw that Texas Texas Republicans refused to fly to Congress in order to not give them quorum and things like that. People are tired of the political game. It's not the way to do it, and it's not the way to restore faith in the government and the system. But for people like Nick and I, we've lost so much faith, we've left the countries that we love.
I think Sasha is next because he hasn't said anything along.
Okay, I'd like to notice one thing, that during the convention, there was unprecedented personal attacks on Donald Trump, with absolute absence of attack on Republican Party. Because the Republican Party is a party that has quite a substantial following, and unfortunately, they gave all their Trump cards to Donald Trump. And also, the Democrats were very skillful to put together Donald Trump and Project 2025. And they read certain experts from the project and so on, which culmination of that is the, of course, abortion issue. And it appears to me that this wave of energy that Democrats have now, I don't know how long, but at least for now, they do have it for sure. And the abortion issue, that's enough to wrestle the election from Republicans. Another thing is actually talking about the personal attacks on Donald Trump. Even Governor Pritzker, in his speech, he said one very interesting thing. Donald, if you are listening to this, watch a real billionaire like myself instead of you being phony billionaire. He said to that effect, and there was quietness in the whole. Nobody expected that type of level of attacks, but it's just one of too many. The Project 2025 was tied up to. So you see, there is a separation between Republican Party and what it stands for, and issue of personality of Donald Trump. And they called him a felon and a con man, and just, it's never been in the open. A lot of people hate Trumps, including myself. But it's somehow in discussions or so on. But to see it on a major network where tens of millions of people are looking at that's never happened before, but it's happening now. So this you have to, of course, weight it heavily on possible results of the election.
So
We'll be
political.
talking about it tomorrow as she accepts the nomination tonight. Jacoby's the last word. I've got to run. See you guys tomorrow morning. We'll talk about the historic.
I'll see you guys next week. Unfortunately, can't be here tomorrow. I'll see you next week, Steve.
See that.
It was Rick, actually. He had his hand up before mine.
I got something quick. Is an advantage for getting elected and a disadvantage for actually governing. Obama came out of nowhere, didn't have a record for people to attack him on, but then he gets into office with super majorities, and all he gets passed is Obamacare. He could have done a ton more, but he was inexperienced. Biden actually did a lot because he's got 50 years of experience. If Harris gets elected and she's smart, she'll keep Biden around as her consigliere to advise her on what to do and how to get it done, because she doesn't have enough experience and she might waste her momentum.
Well, she's got plenty of experience in taking the country way to the left. I mean, there's no moderation here. She's going to be the
Pew
most
Research study,
thinking.
2022, Pew Research study, Republicans in Congress have moved 4 times as far to the right as Democrats have moved to the left.
Just to point out real quick, this is where we come into that talk about that one party being held to a completely separate standard than the other. I keep seeing the pop up from the individual that was watching, saying, and this ties into what we're talking about now. Talking about, well, it's something about fun, but it's not fun. Yeah, that one right there. Fun politics never supposed to have been fun when people's livelihoods hung in the balance. Well, you know what? People said the RNC convention was fun after the RNC convention. Nobody complained or said that same exact thing when the RNC convention was happening. The thing is that we hold the Democrat Party to a different standard than we hold the Republican Party. We're asking for policy from the DNC. We're saying that, Kamala Harris didn't earn it if she becomes president. Well, that's not talking about how our electorate actually works, because she did earn it. She had to make these calls. The life that she put together earned it. This notion that these people don't earn these things. Donald Trump had never been in office but won in 2016. What did he earn to become president? So again, we have to stop these false ideas, these conspiracy theories. No, there was no conspiracy theory from Beau Biden. No, that's ridiculous. No, there's no conspiracy theory that, oh my gosh, Kamala Harris is going to fall now because Obama and she wasn't there because Obama and her have some rift, or Obama and Biden. That's just quote unquote rumors. But again, all these things are problems that are going to nitpick at everything going on. So I think if we can just focus on, okay, now that once the convention ends today, and give the flowers to the DNC, because we gave the flowers to the RNC, but give them their flowers for putting on a great show and a great pep rally. Nothing wrong with that. But then, yes, let's begin that talk about policy, because that's the next step. And that's what